So today I arrive at the end of my three-part series on generosity. Generosity is a paradox. In giving we receive, but in grasping we lose. And of course, generosity is that repeated behavior, not something that can be done only one time. It's not merely a single act, but requires a recurrent intention and attention. And generosity shapes our lives. It changes our lives. It's the habit of giving without expecting anything in return. Generosity has the power to improve our lives, improve our happiness, our health, our well-being, our life purpose. And this, of course, is the real paradox. How is it possible that by giving of ourselves without the expectation of a return, we will improve our lives? And I think the gospel today gives us a clue to understanding. When Jesus tells the leper, "Go show yourself to the priest and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed." It's in that offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. It's Jesus's command, as it were, to the leper. And of course, the leper goes away and then, contrary to what Jesus says, begins to publicize the whole matter. And quite simply, through obedience, we really have to get out of our own way. We have to stop placing obstacles in the path of what it is that we do. Having received the gift, so the leper is doing what he is told to do. He shares the gift that he has received first with the priest, and then, well, kind of contrary to what he was told, he doesn't keep his mouth shut. He goes out and shares that gift with others. You see, it's the willingness to give that is at the heart of human flourishing, because that's what Jesus does. He shows the leper the one thing that God does, the one thing that God is. And of course, St. John tells us in his letter that God is love. It's love that stands at the center of human flourishing, the flourishing of human life. And generosity tends to nurture love. It's no secret that people only flourish when they are loved by others, because indeed, love gives. Love gives. We give to people who we love. We take care of those things that we love. But of course, generosity has to start somewhere. That, as it were, getting out of yourself, getting out of your own way, it has to have a beginning. And the beginning can really only happen when you or I go and do as we're told. We obey. But this is not a blind obedience, not a pray, pay, and obey kind of thing. We don't do that anymore, thank God. No, it's an obedience kind of like the child whose fingers are caught in the Chinese handcuffs. You know, the harder they pull, the stucker they get. You like that word, stucker. We get more stuck. The harder we try to escape from the handcuffs. It's not until someone comes along, however, and tells us, relax and let go. And that relaxing and that obeying that word of relax, which we tend to fight against, that we're able to escape the trap. The leper had to let go of his illness in order to experience the healing power of Jesus. He had to let go in order to be generous. How can you be generous? Well, what do you have? What do you hold on to? What is the thing you can't let go of? I think there are four basic things. The first, of course, is obvious, and it has to do with finances, giving money to a worthy organization or cause. A woman recently told me of all the, what I like to call beggar's mail that she received and didn't know what to do. And I said, pick one, toss the rest away. Pick an organization that you trust, that you know is worthy, and ignore the rest. Someone else will take care of them. Choose one. The standard, of course, is 10%, and it's not a standard that I have come up with. It's not a standard that some financial guru came up with, but rather it's God's standard. God tells his people to give back 10% of what they've earned. For many people, that's a lofty goal. In fact, only 3% of Americans really do only give away 10% or more of their wealth. A couple of weeks ago, all of you, my parishioners, received a letter, and I signed each one of them personally because it gave me an opportunity, as I signed that letter, to say a prayer for you. Of course, the letter stated your contribution for the year, or at least for the last 6 months, as we began our new parish. And I thank you for the support that you give. But think about that level of support. What percentage does that income represent? Because statistically, people who are intentional and consistent about what they give are more likely to be happy and healthy, more so than those who are haphazard about giving. I like to think that giving ought to be something simple. Give online. We have an online giving program here at the parish. How often do you pay your bills? Every week? I don't think so. Make your contribution once a month. It's easy. A second form of generosity, also very obvious and also has the same effect of increasing health and happiness, is to volunteer. Volunteer your time and your talent. Helping other people in their lives, helping to make other people's lives better, helping church to be a better experience for all of us. A third form is relational generosity, involving people taking the time to care for other people, especially their emotional needs, being sensitive to the conditions of people's lives, forgiving other people. I mentioned that last week, accepting the limitations of that people have to live with. And finally, of course, neighborly generosity, doing things like watching the house of a neighbor who's away for an extended period of time, inviting a neighbor into your home for a visit, for a cup of tea, for a meal. In those cases where money is not a requirement, increased levels of generosity translate indeed to higher levels of happiness and health and well-being. And that's what I mean when I say, get out of yourself, get out of your own way. Because you're getting into doing what God does. You're listening to him, you're obeying him. What Jesus said to that leper, go show yourself to the priest and give what Moses prescribed. Do that and see what happens. Generous people, of course, look at what they have and while still taking care of themselves and those they're called to care for, willingly give away a percentage of their financial resources, a percentage of their time. They share their emotional lives with others. They act in a neighborly way to those around them. Of course, generous people are happier and healthier. They don't suffer from serious diseases, their depression or addictions. However, generosity must be authentic. It must actually be lived and practiced and believed, a real part of one's life. And it's only then that its well-being, enhancing powers can kick in. Jesus was generous. He was generous with his whole life, and the Gospels that we've heard these past weeks show us that. Our baptism demands that we do the same, that we be generous. Because indeed, that is what Catholic Christians do.